And
Well, thank you so much.
you're a warrior too, which
Oh,
is
yes.
all. So yes, please.
Well, thank you, everybody, for giving me the opportunity to be here today. And thank you, Andrea. And I think it's just seems to flow so nicely in what I'm going to share. In fact, I already changed agendas and I haven't even started. However, I think it's very appropriate that I open this with a poem, and I may kick out some of the slides later just to stay on time. And I am guided by my contact, Louis Marr. I'm working from Andromeda, to bring that old poem up, which I wrote 2012, at which point I was completely in a closet. I raised my children to the light. That was mission 1. Mission 2, tell your story. And I said, are you kidding? Not likely after all I've been through. No way, Jose. So here is the poem, The Galactic Human. We might be from outer space and feel like we do not belong. Even though it's hard to believe, struggles and pain do make our soul strong. We spiral upwards in vibration. We feel it in our bodily sensation. What once was considered DNA junk turns out not at all to be defunct. Increased photon activity of the sun sends many a chromosome on the run. Waking us up, open all our throttles. No wonder one sometimes wobbles. Once we run on 12 DNA strands, the feeling of pain, hardship, and suffering wanes. All is attracted, shows up as if blown in by the breeze. Life then will be lived with so much more ease. The resonance of love has its many connectors, crossing points, amino acids, information fuel injectors. Feeling compassion, gratitude, and generosity propels our consciousness with so much velocity. Fear, to the contrary, only degenerates deflectors. Illusions of dangers have us battle dementors. It inhibits potential and narrows our vision. That's why there is tally and so much tunnel vision. Zombies are those who aren't fully awake, unwilling to give their head a bit of a shake. They claim to have it on high authority, though check out what's the ultimate priority. Common good always is lesser than the good of the leader. Many a man perished over the eons as cannon fodder. The ground troopers who are stuck and controlled with fear are free to hold on to whatever they hold dear. Universal laws govern life day in and day out. We are free to be grateful, also free to always doubt and pout. It is our choice to rise above separation and illusion. The opportunity became reality for 12 DNA strand activation. 2012 was all about ascension, oneness, consciousness, and expansion. Embrace yourself as genetically encoded, cellular information being quickly promoted. Increased light means more knowledge, enables self to become free from old bondage. Darkness is lack of information, and masses succumb to manipulation. Our consciousness is expanding really fast. Soon we can transcend to fifth dimensional life at last. The veils of illusion will then be no more. We become the expression of our authentic self forevermore. Sit with this for a minute. Isha katina katu ila manusha sa ukatikata nusha tu katikitikamana ulama shisa nusata on inasa kitatu monani sisa tukana shilamanala. This is my light language coming through from Andromeda that I received a while back. I'm still reluctant to speak it, and yet it seems that I do follow guidance, much like Andrea said. Sometimes you say, "Where the hell don't you come to my kitchen and tell me if you know everything so much better?" Because the conditioned mind had so many eons of programs, and it's very hard to let go of that. So I'm wondering if it would be okay to share my screen, because what I want to share with you today is just give you a quick rundown of what I had to go through to access and develop the trust to follow what I call my inner soul guidance system. You know, we follow a GPS if we go to a different city. You probably know about how to operate your computer, you know, what do you use? Is it a software, a word processor from, you know, your PC or your Mac Pages, whatever. We have all this training. But think about it. Where and when did you learn about what makes you tick? So I'm going to try to put a crash course in what is going to be in my book, Your Universe, Your Way, earlier this spring, so that people can be at the status quo the moment they're at, look at what's working and what's not, and then gradually find that way inward. Where did I miss the little telltales, the little signs? Because inner guidance, or the voice of God, or whatever you want to call it, the force doesn't come with a ghetto blaster on the box and say, "Hey, Hildegard, wake up, don't take that road, go that way." It's a very subtle inkling, and we all have it. I've yet to meet a human being who does not have events in their life where they thought, "Oh, I should have done this, or I should have done this." Or we second guess ourselves. And this is an invitation, just flow with me. I'll share a little bit about my story, and then there will be a couple of slides with lots of words in it, because I don't want to talk about all of these things, just to see what my challenges were becoming aware of who I am, a walk in. And yeah, and then I hopefully will be on time. If not, give me the time out and we can end it at any time. Okay, thank you so much. So let me see if I can do the screen share with you here. Okay, can you see that screen already or no?
No. Did you hit the green screen share?
Yeah, I think that's what needs to happen here. Hang on. Screen share. Okay.
There you go.
All right, here we go. Hang on a second. I need to redo this because I want to start at the beginning. No. Sorry, one more time. Get it to the top. Here we go. Okay, so I am Hildegard. I am a walk-in from Andromeda, and I will just give you a little bit of the process that I went through to gain confidence, to trust my inner voice, and to also make decisions based on that inner, very weak, silent voice. I'm clairsentient, I'm telepathic, I'm an empath, I can feel things, and a lot of these, what one here might call extrasense perception, which of course is not accepted by the Western three-dimensional worldview, were extremely heightened and out there after I walked in. I chose to start up, and the picture, I have it behind me, attitude is everything for sure. However, if you look at the water drop and the top, this is you. There's all the wisdom, all the knowledge of all the lives and all the experiences you ever had. And the energy that holds, the vibration that holds, impacts once that water drop falls into that water, whether it is water or whether it is energy. And I love this picture for the longest time, looking at the Andromeda galaxy, whether it was this one or this one here, made me cry. So I'm going to begin by explaining who I was and what this walk-in experience was like. And I want you to just have a look at this again, the water drop and the galaxy. and let that sink in. I recognize patterns. This is one of my gifts or my curses. I recognize patterns and the state of consciousness that people operate on by the words they say. And I also see patterns in people's lives, but I can't see the patterns in myself. That's why I need help from other people. And I'm glad all of you lovely people are there and help me a lot. Okay, so here we go. This is the constellation of Botes, and I'm not quite clear whether I came from 90, 70. I was told that as downstep, the vibration in other dimensional realities are different. It's almost like you cannot plug a 120 volt blow dryer into a 220 volt electricity plug. And so what happens before the walk-in was ready to enter the physical machinery, the frequency had to be stepped down. And I have some remembrance of being on an Arcturian healing ship. However, let's start at the beginning. So there's Hildegard in the early 1990s, a stay-at-home mom with 3 little children under 6. One child was in kindergarten, the other in just started grade 1, and I had a toddler, a 1.5-year-old. And we lived in a subdivision south of the Toronto airport. At the time, I didn't realize anything about electromagnetic vibrations or the toxins in my environment could have an impact on my health. So I was severely sick and I collapsed all the time. And the way it worked, I was going about doing something, and then the curtains closed, like theater curtains. Black curtains came over my eyes, it went black. And this very moment, I was running after my youngest child. He was just about to run to the road, and I ran after him. And in the next moment, I saw ambulances coming off the 401 highway here in Toronto, driving into the subdivision. I saw my neighbors run together. It must have been like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody else came home from work or school or wherever. And I recognized that they were doing something with my body. And I saw my oldest son's eyes. It was like a deer stuck in the headlight. And there was Florian holding on with his right hand to the right hand of his little brother, put his left arm around him. And I knew something was very wrong. And I screamed on the top of my lung, I'm here, what the hell? What are you doing with my body? And then I saw something similar to this bright light in the distance. It was initially just the size of a pin, the head of a needle. And then it became brighter and brighter. And then I tried to cover my face, my eyes. It was so bright. And then I realized, oh my God, I don't have a body. I don't have hands, arms, legs. What's going on? And my first response was, yay, I'm dead. No more doctors, nobody telling me postpartum depression, nobody telling me I'm crazy. You know, let the kids grow up and it will all go away. But then I remember I had 3 children and I screamed at the light, no, listen, stop. I like what you're saying. I want to be like you, and we need to make this all go back. This is not working. And no sooner had I thought that I wanted to go into the center of light, thinking that there is a human being I could talk to, I was immersed by this light, and this voice became louder and louder. And soon after, I felt this amazing cashmere sweater kind of hug. It was so soft. It was so loving. When Andrea got emotional about the love that she feels for these beings, this intelligence, I can relate, because it just felt, I've never felt anything like that on earth. It's indescribable. Only people I think who experience that can relate how amazing it is. And I remember having a great conversation and I'm going, yeah, I agree. I want to do that. Sure, no problem. And then I was given 2 missions. Mission 1, raise these children to the light. Mission 2 was tell your story, help other people. And then more hugs and goodbyes and everything else. And off I was on my way. Now in total, I had 5 blackouts that I remember. However, I tend to believe that even when I was younger, I was somehow called on, because I remember an incident my mom told me, what are you doing outside? I grew up in a farm in Europe. and there was beautiful starlit skies at night. And I remember thinking, why do you leave me here? I want to go home. And my mom's thinking, you are home, sweetheart. You are home. What are you doing out here in your nightie? So I believe there may very well be experiences that I have no access to, like the memory is somehow locked away. So the first time it happened in a department store, I visited my German parents at the time, and I collapsed on an escalator, same thing, the theater curtain closed. Then another time that was really weird happened in Toronto. My car is parked facing south. I have 3 little children and a young golden retriever puppy dog that isn't toilet trained yet. And I remember we are all in the car. I put the car, started the ignition. The 11 o'clock news came on, and the engine is on. Everybody's ready to go. It's close to lunch. We need to go for lunch home. We need to go home for lunch. And then I kind of leaning over the steering wheel thinking, that sun is something weird. And it looked as if the sun came right in front of my motor, my engine hood there, car hood, and it was suddenly at eye level. And the next thing I remember, I wake up in the car, I look to the back, my kids, all 3 of them, a 6, a 4, and a 1.5-year-old plus a 9-month-old puppy dog, are all asleep. That never happened, not day or night or at the best of times, but there they were sleeping. And then what is interesting is that the car key was still in the ignition. It was in the driving position. And I remember it was 11 o'clock because it was just saying 11 o'clock news. And when I looked at my watch, sure enough, it was past 12. So that was a very strange experience. And then there was one attempt where I managed to keep the theater curtain at bay when I walked the children to school. And I started to talk to myself, I can do this. I'm going home. I'm going home. And I managed to go home. However, I had to lie down, and I don't know whether I blacked out or not, but the one I want to talk to you about is the most important one on Bigham Crescent. This is the subdivision where the ambulance took the body away. And then I had one more that was later on in the mid-90s where I was driving my car. Again, all kids in the car. At this point, I had 4 children. And I'm on a 3-lane highway, and my thought was, I cannot make it to that neighborhood side street. There's a big bridge coming, and it wasn't secured the way it is today. This is where the city of Toronto is divided by the Don Valley River. I don't know how I got there, but similar thing. Everybody is asleep. And when I woke up, my car is in drive. I have no conscious recollection how my van came from the 3rd line going east into the last subdivision entry that I could have possibly entered. So during that experience, when the ambulance took the body away, I was suddenly surrounded by 12 interesting beings. They had platinum colored long hair, almond-shaped eyes. They were maybe twice the size of a human being here. And they were beautiful. They were maybe 27, maybe 30 years old. There was no wrinkle in their face. Like our brand new baby's skin looks more used up than theirs. They were amazing. They had these sparkling opal colored, and if you have a very expensive opal and have it in the sunshine, it will sparkle in these beautiful rainbow colors. So these were these beautiful beings. And I suddenly found myself having a completely white body. And there were 2 beings by my feet, 2 behind my back, and then 4 on each side. And the person closest to my shoulder, my right shoulder, was talking to me. And I'm looking at him and I'm agreeing with him. And I apparently talked to him. I thought, oh my God, his mouth isn't moving. How come? And then it kicked in, oh, sure, we do telepathy. Who needs words? So I think in this discussion, in this interaction, I was then told, okay, guess what? We're getting you ready. We're stepping you down into the 3rd dimension. And again, I don't know exactly where I'm from. I love, again, what Andrea said. I think I'm a human being. However, I was always a misfit. And after I wanted to share with my then husband and best friend of 10 years about my experiences, not to mention the medical profession, very quickly my life changed. So this is just the images that I thought would be most appropriate to show how the densification process from whatever dimension out of this sea of consciousness, the consciousness densifies and then eventually comes and enters the body. And I love this picture because it seems to show 3 DNA strands, at least that's what I make it to be. And then we have the center of our spinal column, which is very important for our life force to flow through. So if all goes well, the new conscious person would probably look something like that for somebody who is clairvoyant. And if you were in a hospital next to me when Hildegard became conscious again, then, you know, it would have probably looked something like that. Now, Barbara Ann Brennan was one of the most amazing teachers that I found. You must remember in the early 90s, I at least didn't have access to internet. So how could I find what's going on with me? And it so happened, and this was totally unplanned and completely guided, I was pushed into a church on Toronto Bloor and Spadina, where this lady, apparently a former physicist from NASA, was giving a lecture, Barbara Ann Brennan. And she's the author of Light Emerging and also Hands of Light. So the ideal aura, and that's where I learned that we have actually an energy field around us. It should look that way if the body was healthy. I believe that my vehicle, my car, was relatively broken. And I was frustrated when I first came home from the hospital because nothing about my environment I recognized, not even the beautiful children. And what was amazing is the love coming off these little children. But at the same time, you have no memory of any of this. And there are these kids running towards you. Mom, 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 what happened? What happened? You know, the ambulance took you away. What's for dinner? And inside of my head, it was, I don't want to be here. What? Take me out of here. I didn't volunteer for that. And so my physical experience after the walk-in was absolutely terrifying. Whereas being in the space with the Andromedans felt like home. It felt safe. I felt loved. I had total agreement all the way around. But then arriving here, the trouble started to begin. And when I went to the medical doctors, because something was obviously very wrong with me, I couldn't function very well. I couldn't eat anything that was in the fridge. The hair shampoo got me upset. Loud noises made me upset. I was extremely sensitive to temperature, hot or cold, didn't really matter. I had panic attacks. I had racing hearts, chronic fatigue, irritable bowel. As far as, you know, early menopause was diagnosed at the time, and human hormone replacement therapy seemed to have been all the rage in the early 90s. And the medicine I was given didn't make any sense. It didn't help me. If anything, it made me more despondent, to the point that my little dog nipped me in the knee every now and then to shake me into, oh, you have kids to pick up from kindergarten or school, or the baby is crying upstairs, or something like that. So everything changed in my life drastically. And what was super frustrating, because at the time I had a upbringing in a very Catholic household. I was conditioned to believe that I'm a sinner, I'm a bad person, I need to repent, I have to go to confession every week, you know, I have to suffer on this planet to eventually go to heaven. And so for me to suddenly have this awareness about that's not quite right was very frustrating. Yet I also had the program that Western medicine knows best, and I need to continuously go and see a doctor to help me figure out what causes these fainting spells. Until over time I realized, okay, there's Western medicine saying you're mentally ill. Maybe we need to lock her up in a mental hospital, or maybe we need to stuff her full of Prozac or whatever. And on the other side, there was this very clear guidance. And I heard that voice as clearly as I hope you can hear mine now. There's nothing wrong with you. All is well. You may not get everything you want, but you are looked after. We can monitor all your vital signs on our screen. You're part of a walk-in program. The people on Earth have led up the playpen, because I was asking, why, what is this about? And what does it mean? And they said, well, you are here on a mission, and we'll tell you as you integrate, you'll get more, but they only give me little breadcrumbs. And then I had to go and find a bookstore, or at some point I registered even at York University here to figure out whether my brain would eventually be filled up with information or whether I could continue to learn new stuff, because I had no access to information. And then with the registration in the university, I had access to libraries all over Toronto. But sadly, there was nothing written on that, or at least I was not supposed to find the books at the time. They showed up later. So my frustration was, how did I get here? What the hell is going on? What makes me tick? And as you can very well imagine, those of you who have been through walk-in experience, and I know, Sheila, you have been through that, the outer world turns into chaos, because I, Hildegard, could not function. I had a very difficult time to get dressed in the morning, to figure out what's for breakfast, which way do I need to go to bring these kids to school, once I finally succeeded to put them in their snowsuits and everything. So the outer definitely reflects the inner. And I very much believe if I can also work in the outer, we can eventually find out what's happening on the inner. I think it works both ways. So that's when this path of looking inside for answers began. And I believe a prerequisite to actually getting to know who you really are and how your inner soul guidance system works, which I like to call ISGS, is to ask. And the asking for question is one thing, but to be able to receive it is another. Because in my personal situation, I believe my nervous system was hardwired was stuck in the fight and flight. And when we are hardwired into the fight and flight response, we do not have access to our frontal lobe. Creating thinking isn't happening. I'm stuck in the reptilian brain. And the simplest things, like using your car keys to open the car door, becomes an issue. At least it did become, for me, a very difficult problem. This is the image that a lovely, lovely lady I was privileged to meet, sadly not in person, yet over the phone and internet, was Cynthia Crawford. Cynthia Crawford had the gift to pick up on the guides of the people who were in contact with other dimensional beings. She did not create hair, but she creates the statue. And when I ordered the statue and it came into my house, I was shaking all over, tears were flowing. There is a very powerful energy attached to that. And I got in touch with Cynthia Crawford only in 2016. I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but just so you had a visual for Louis Maher. And I met somebody, Kevin Estrella, who has the website Pyramids on Mars, a musician, who introduced me to Cynthia. And in the time that we telephoned and emailed, I was given so much reassurance. And she encouraged me, continue to speak, continue to open yourself up. You committed to this mission. You got to do it, sweetheart, and you'll be protected and it's all good. So here are some of her creations. And I know some of you know Cynthia Crawford really well. And she told me that I will go soon. However, she said, I'll be with you. So I just want to honor her this way by speaking to her and sharing her creations. So from left to right, Arcturians, Mantis, Sirian, and of course the Andromedans and the Elohim. So my tool to helping me was through writing. I went everywhere with a little notebook and a pencil. And I would say, should I buy this? What is this? Who gets that? Who needs to eat that? What do I do with that? And I had for 2 years a guide, her name was Ashta Athena. And she taught me what a woman who is a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids to look after has to know to live in this 3-dimensional world. And then came the time she disappeared. And I had Louis Ma continuing to drop little breadcrumbs. And it's not that he is constantly yakking in my ear and saying, don't do this, don't do that, turn left, turn right. It's not like that. There is information that would come my way, a book fall off the shelf, and suddenly I'm going, oh, that's really poison. I don't want that anymore. Or my kids shouldn't be washing their hair with this shampoo, or my husband shouldn't use that aftershave or whatever. Now imagine your partner comes home and you come home from work and your partner suddenly has rearranged the kitchen, threw all the stuff in the fridge out and in the bathroom. Obviously, he was in a very difficult situation, not to mention our children. However, I found at some point the children seemed to not have any problem with me until one day, my 6-year-old, he stood on our kitchen bench and he looked me straight in the eye and said, "You are not my mommy. Go away. I want my mommy back." Which was one of these moments where I'm thinking, who am I? What is going on here? So my walk-in integration process was a very, very slow one. I think I didn't discover until about 5 years into it that I was a walk-in, but I did get the guidance from Louis Ma that I have free will. I can choose in any which way. However, he also reassured me that I'm never alone, even though I felt utterly abandoned. I had no more friends. My best friend, my husband, was no longer in my life that way. My parents didn't talk to me because Catholics don't divorce. So they were praying for me because they thought I'd go straight to hell. And it was a very, very challenging time. So I needed to surrender and say, okay, if I'm not supposed to die yet, whatever, show me. And once the student is ready, then the messengers show up. And among other things, books that fell off shelf, articles that I found sitting somewhere. And I came across the work of Nikola Tesla, which I didn't understand quite well. But among other things, I came across this book, this quote here, you know, the day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all previous centuries of existence. And I believe that for me was the beginning. I started to look for quantum physics books in the library like there's no tomorrow. And then when I came about the work of Max Planck, like we're going back 1858, he's died 1947. He already said, all matter originates and exists only by virtue of force, of a specific force. We must assume that this force is behind the existence of consciousness and intelligent mind. Mind is the matrix of all matter. So in other words, the universe is mental. And Louis Ma told me once, I am at the center of my universe. Every creature in the universe creates their own universe, much like my liver cells is part of the universe of the physical body of Hildegard. That is the same as the sun is the center in our solar system. And it itself is, again, a cell in the system of suns. And it so happens we are now aligned with our galactic great central sun. And I know that before I walked in, that I had come through the galactic central sun and then through our sun. And that's a discussion for another time. However, I began to adopt the notion that as a human being, I'm a transmitter and a receiver unit. And I went back to college as an adult already in my early 40s And Louis Ma kicked me into that college, literally. And I'm thinking, why would I do that? I have kids to feed. My oldest goes to university already. I cannot afford to do that. But it was simply to understand what that means, become a receiver and a transmitter. And when I asked, so what about this walk-in program? He was explaining whether you find it vertical, like a 10 or 120 store apartment building, and you have the ground floor up to the 125th floor, or you can tilt it on the side and you think it's a string of pearls. Everything is connected. And the reason why that walk-in program this time around was created, and many people have said it before, had to do with the kids lighting up the playpen with a nuclear bomb. The law of non-interference didn't allow our big brothers and sisters to come here and say, don't you do that. So then the walk-ins came in, and I believe the walk-ins program have been gone forever and ever. This is not a new thing, just that we have never been told about it. And yesterday somebody said, you know, Jesus Christ, Mohammed, Buddha, all of these. For sure, I believe Jesus Christ is a walk-in, no doubt about it. From Series B, by the way, not Series A. These two series are aligned, and that's why maybe science today says there's only one series. So I love this picture. HeartMath Institute has an amazing amount of resources. I highly recommend. They discovered that the human being is an electrical gravitational force field, electromagnetic gravitational, whatever you want to call it. And when I change the vibration here, then I'm not going to run after things anymore. I will draw things into my field. Ease and grace from there on forth can be ours. We really need to work here. That's where all the action is. I don't believe there's anything out there. It all starts here. A tulip grows from the inside out. We as a soul grow from the inside out. Soul created the vessel. And Dr. Bruce Lipton said, you know, our biology creates, our biography creates our biology. I definitely buy into that one. And here is my friend Albert Einstein. And he says again, also, everything is energy. That's all there is. That's all there ever was. So if I match the frequency of that which I would like to experience in my reality, then there is no other way than for you to get that. It shows up in your world. It's not mysticism. It's not Pollyanna thinking. It's science. It's physics. And this gentleman knew this about 100 years ago already. Now here's the challenge. When I first walked in, and I began to get a glimpse of I'm energy, then why was it that I'm standing in my kitchen and I felt like there's somebody from behind trying to choke me? And over time, I learned that we have, I love Andrea talking about the little chickadee. The chickadee needs to develop the strength to break through that shell. And in the egg shell, there is this little skein. And this skein is very important. We have it in the outer layer of our auric field as well. Yet when I put substances into my system that weaken that skein, I can have all sorts of entities, non-corporeal intelligence come into my field. And I think that's what a lot of us who have paranormal experience or walk-in experience deal with. And the work of Barbara and Brennan, and there are many others, obviously helped me quite a bit. And in my challenge, I was really happy to have these 4 masters to be there to teach me, to the point that at every moment in time, they were able to bring me down, ground me, and also shift my perception on what was happening and what was important. And I ask and I complain to Louis Ma all the time, oh, if this is such a job, why that responsibility would have destroyed the vehicle and the whole mission would have gone out the window. So hence the kids are very vital. And they helped me change perception. And again, not coincidental then this morning, it was mentioned already before, The real act of discovery consists not of finding new lands, but in seeing with new eyes. And the journey of self-discovery is all about seeing new lands, seeing with new eyes. And then you discover new land, new worlds on the inside. There is an incredible guru, and I don't really like to use the word guru because this man, Sri Ashutosh Maharaj, he developed the gift to open, not just to open a third eye, but for us to see our soul light. And then when you meditate, you literally see that bright light that is unique to your soul and a lot of other things as well. So on this mission to get to know myself better, I had to learn to forgive myself because I had a strong program of beating myself up. I'm not good enough. I'm stupid. Why do I do that? I can never do that. I'm too weak. I'm too tired. I needed a massive attitude adjustment. And as you can see behind me, that is a constant in my life. My attitude needs to be on gratitude. And with more gratitude and a shifted attitude, you increase your altitude, and therefore you draw more information from different results. I love Yoda. Do he not, try he not, do. And when I had my attitude adjusted well enough, I asked one night to be given some guidance. And there came this children's story, Never Enough, the story of a planet reborn. It's still in the closet. It will be published this year. The graphics are by a wonderful man named Sean Salmon. And the take-away story was, you can choose to be miserable, to run on the victim program, or you can release all these old programs and you can open yourself to love. It's a choice. However, I had to take responsibility for all that was in front of me, the good, bad, and the ugly, no matter what anybody else did or said or believed, whether people liked or hated me. Because in this act of consciously taking 100% responsibility, you're kind of switching tracks. The universe is non-judgmental. Everything in the universe is available to everybody, and it doesn't take any special skill to have it show up in your life, but we don't know it. And the 4 basic universal laws are really simply this: I exist, I am one with all is one with me, everything is in perpetual change. And the 4th one, what I get out, I get what I send out, I get back. So there is nobody judging you or me, but me. This is an ego construct. And the ego is there to protect the physical vehicle, which is very important. However, it is up to me to instruct the ego instead of have the ego run and destruct me. So my mission on this planet, just coming to an end here soon, is to help people access their higher awareness and how to utilize these unique insights into their daily life activities. It's not easy to sometimes recognize guidance. And that's why Louis Ma kind of have to give it to me the 10-foot pole, meaning things had to happen one after the other, after the other, after the other. A short experience. I was wondering, I needed a new car. I had to move out of the city. And in less than 1 hour, I had a truck run me off the road that had Chrysler Canada on it. I was at a grocery store. A gentleman ahead of me had a jacket on the back it said Chrysler Canada. I ran to the school, pick up my children. A guy unfolds a double-page newspaper. The double-page ad said Chrysler Canada. Why is that significant? I wanted to buy an old clunker cash. I didn't want to take a car loan. And there was guidance saying, you gotta go to Chrysler. Sure enough, no sooner had I bought the car, I realized that my old car could have never handled a move on the distance that I was engaging in. So I would like all people to realize that these intuitive hunches are the things to follow. we most of the time do not have any logical frame of reference because the logic is stuck in the past. It's like a clutch lying on the sidewalk. It's useless. But if you know at which RPM to engage your stick shift, your clutch in a stick shift car, it propels you forward so beautifully. And this is how it is with our logic. So we need to learn to inform our head by the heart. And then we gradually find our inner voice. And we are here, we are gifted. All human beings are unique. You have a unique gift that nobody else has. And when you find what it is, and it's usually connected with your childhood dream, and it gives you the most joy, when you connect with this and you work with it and share it with the world, create your vision for the future around it, and then develop a mission, goals, action plan, then you'll find yourself in an incredibly wonderful life. I am so blessed to be here today, almost 30 years after my walk-in, and I kept my mouth shut about it for the longest time. And that I can be at this conference today is what I've been dreaming about. Maybe not so honestly, because at the time I refused that I was ever going to do it, but in time I warmed up to the idea. And I think it's important to have a vision, no matter how bad the here and now might appear. Create a vision of what it's going to be like in the future. When I had one leg literally paralyzed, nobody could figure out what was wrong. I had one leg and a broom to walk with and a baby to diaper. I lay in bed at night, seeing myself running across the beach with the kids and the dogs throwing sticks in the water. And there's a lot to the story. It was not just the visualization alone, but amazing people showed up in my life that helped me, and I learned to walk again. And it wouldn't have happened without visualization. It's a very powerful tool, especially if you connect it with the feeling. Feeling is the language of the soul, and it creates an elastic band. So in the future, that which is not yet, I then create this glue between the destination I want to go on, or you can also call it a red thread upon which you can figure out which road to go. And then you will find yourself in that situation that I'm in today. I share these pictures. Sorry, but this has been such a tough road. And I acknowledge Barbara Lamb and Andrea and everybody who acknowledges that, because I had to live to some degree a lie, because I had to pretend to be this perfect mother and whatever, communications consultant, journalist, translator, interpreter, whatever. Yet I couldn't share my true self. I was always regurgitating somebody else's stuff. And because I learned to listen to my inner guidance, I have a daughter now who's 26. Here she's tiny. I have a daughter-in-law, and I was privileged enough to attend my eldest son's wedding in Japan last year. It would have never happened had I listened to the prediction of the experts out there. 6 months, get your affairs in order. And these are still my master teachers. So it's time to instruct the head by the heart. Again, my friend Albert, I think we have similar hair color. I don't know whether he was adrenaline addicted just like I was, but it's really important to trust our intuitive mind. It's a sacred gift. And yet in our society, we appear to honor, the helper, the logical mind. And it's about time we change that. And when Dylan was yesterday speaking about, he doesn't have to, and angelic beings don't always have to have wings, I just thought I need to put that picture in. Because when you are true to yourself, without asking anybody's permission or approval, the way you are today, you're perfect. There has never been anything wrong with you. That's when your light shines and you become an angel onto somebody else. So ask yourself, am I willing to suspend my ego mind? Am I ready to ask for help? And there are many people you can ask for help. You know, do you want to learn? Do you want to recognize and act upon your inner guidance? And it takes a lot of courage. It might mean to quit your job. It might mean to move house. It might mean to do something completely off the rocker, buy $50 essential oil this small to help your little child nervous system. And everybody says you're irresponsible. Are you willing to let go of control and surrender to the unknown? Because let me tell you, the only security is in the unknown. There is no security anywhere else, but knowing who you are, trusting your inner gifts and talents, and trust yourself to bring them out. And I'm really on a scary ground here because I have never published anything of my writing, rather than in an anthology or poetry contest or something like that. And Your Universe, Your Way is going to be the roadmap. And the Andromedans said, no, don't write your story. Write a self-help book. Give people a roadmap to living guided by their inner wisdom. And it's scary. It's not quite there yet, but it will be out in spring. You can go to my website and pre-order it. Your credit card will not be charged. And we'll let you know how it goes. So safety and sameness is illusion, definitely. Because when I'm in that which I have already experienced, the frame of reference that I felt safe in, I can never have other experiences. And it's boring, and people generally are getting ill, and we degenerate. When we are brown, we are dying off. When we are green, we are growing. So every day, try something that really scares the crap out of you, and then see what happens. And 99% all the things that we worry about, or I worried about, never happened in the first place. It always turns out better than you expected. Anyway, so I find true safety is in being and trusting yourself. Let yourself surrender to the great unknown. And this magic universal force will always, always carry you. Find your reasons. Find your reasons to go on. And at the time, at age 33, I went 3 years thinking about suicide. I don't stand a chance. So-and-so says I'm crazy. So-and-so says I need to take my medication. It was terrible. I had these psychic attacks morning, lunchtime, and night. And the only thing that prevented me and encouraged me from keeping on going, what would happen to my kids? So yeah, it looks easy, or what's a big deal about being a parent? It's a massive deal to be a parent. And I would like to acknowledge each and every one of you who has been a contribution to children, whether you have your own children or not, it doesn't matter. But these are the brilliant minds that need to be supported. So in summary, you see, you are multidimensional. You're just temporarily small fractal is animating this physical machine that we spend so much money and attention on. It doesn't matter what the outside really looks like, but when the inside has comprehended that the Newtonian paradigm, the material worldview, is no longer relevant, it's way out of, old doesn't even describe it. And we learn to get a handle on our mind, instruct it properly, become aware of our program, and transmute that. And then let more and more love and appreciation for ourselves grow within ourselves. Life will be amazing, absolutely amazing. And you're quite right. The human consciousness has been hijacked. Hence, the walk-ins were dispatched. The web of illusion has dissolved, allowing the light to shine through. And that's the moment we are in. So you are the creator of your own universe. Never doubt it. I love and appreciate you all. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for giving me that time. Here is how you can reach me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.